So why shouldn't you buy a $1,000 pre-built right now? I mean, it comes down to a couple of different answers. The first one being the insane price drops we've seen over the last couple months in PC components, especially when it comes to GPUs. You can get an RTX 3060 right now for under $400 from the likes of EVGA and even MSI. And for that matter, you can finally get something like an RTX 3070 or 3070 Ti for right around $700 or even $650 in some cases. And similar can be said for the likes of CPUs, RAM, and even SSDs. So overall, the price of PC components coming down has finally made building a PC a much more affordable endeavor than it has been in the recent past. And although we've seen these crazy price drops on PC components, which has made building a PC much more affordable compared to what it was a few months ago, we haven't seen the same price drops on pre-built gaming PCs, with a $1,000 pre-built a couple months ago still costing you $1,000 today. So what is kind of the sweet spot between when you should actually go out and buy a pre-built versus when you should actually build your own PC? Is there kind of a cutoff where it makes sense to buy a pre-built and where it makes more sense to just build your own? After digging through a bunch of pre-builts online and also comparing them against a similarly spec system using PC Part Picker, I think I've kind of figured out that the middle ground of where that split is between buying a pre-built and building your own PC sits right at that $1,000 mark. And in order to show you guys what I mean, let's jump into some builds. So let's start things off with our cheapest build, which is this $900 Skytech gaming PC. And as you can see from the aesthetic, the case looks pretty good. It's definitely not gonna have the best airflow, especially with that stock Intel cooler, but overall it looks pretty decent, and it does have some okay specs at $900. It comes with an RTX 3050, an i5-10400F, a 1TB NVMe SSD, and 8 gigs of memory. So overall, decent specs for only $900. And this is a pretty good deal that you can buy right now on Amazon. But if you were to price out a similarly spec'd build-it-yourself system, we went with an i5-12400F, the same 6-core, 12-thread CPU as the 10400F, just with the newer Intel architecture, a RTX 3050 yet again, and very similar specs besides the 16 gigs of RAM, and it came in at like $843, which is very similarly priced to our pre-built, and that doesn't include a Windows purchase. And then we have a CyberPower PC with a RX 6600 XT and a Ryzen 5 5600G. So now this PC is very similar to a computer we looked at and I purchased not that long ago, which was an RTX 2060 version of this computer. Same case, same kind of RGB setup, and a very similarly performing PC. And this PC is pretty good for $999. You're getting a very capable GPU and also a very capable CPU. But if we were to price out, again, a very similarly spec'd build-it-yourself system with PC Part Picker, you'll find out that the price is very, very similar. So we went with the 5600G, we went with a Wi-Fi capable B550 motherboard for this build, and overall, it came in at $999.90. So almost the exact same price as our Best Buy build that you could buy right now as a pre-built. So overall, there's not too much that would direct me to go ahead and build a $1,000 PC right now. But when we get to the $1,199 budget, the $1,200 or $1,250 build, now we're looking at an RTX 3060, and with this CyberPower PC, an i5-11600KF, which is a very, very capable CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 500 gig SSD and a 1TB HDD. So overall, this build is very, very capable for the price of $1,200. I mean, you're getting a lot for that money. And there's some very similarly spec systems from other OEMs and other system integrators out there, like this one from NZXT. It's their starter PC Pro Series, and it has the same exact specs outside of the CPU. So with this one, you're getting an i5-10400F, You're also getting an RTX 3060. You're not getting the best power supply with this build, but all the other components are pretty good. 16 gigs of RAM at 3000 megahertz and a 500 gig SSD. But again, if we were to price now a similarly spec'd system with PC Part Picker that we could go out and build ourselves, does it come out to $1,200? And the answer is no. So with this one, we got an i5-12400F, same Hyper 212, same B660 motherboard, 16 gigs of 3200 megahertz memory, a 1 terabyte NVMe, an RTX 3060 that you can get now for $409 from MSI or even $390 from EVGA on Newegg, and a very good case with the Eclipse case there, and a 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply. So pretty much all steps up from what NZXT or CyberPower is offering for only $1,000. So I mean, you're saving almost $200 compared to what you could get with a similarly spec'd pre-built. So overall, I mean, you're better off definitely building a PC once you get over that $1,000 budget, and it only becomes more apparent as you look at higher spec and higher price systems. So like this one with an RTX 3070 and a Ryzen 5 5600X. This is the streamer PC from NZXT. It's a very good PC. It has AIO liquid cooling. It has, you know, their classic H510 case. The components are really, really solid. But if we were to price out a similarly spec system, again on PC Part Picker, now we're looking at 5600X still, the same Hyper 212 cooler, a B550 motherboard with Wi-Fi, an RTX 3070 Ti versus an RTX 3070, the same 16 gigs of RAM and the same 1 terabyte NVMe, and we jump it up even from a 650 watt power supply to an 850 watt power supply just to make sure we're definitely going to be able to handle that RTX 3070 Ti, and we'll see the price just never gets up to that $1,700 price point that the NZXTs and the other system integrators and OEMs out there are trying to charge for a 3070 capable PC. Again, it's only $1,500, so you're still saving that $200 over a pre-built system, and we're getting better components, a 3070 Ti versus a 3070. So overall, I mean, looking at all of these different builds, looking at all these specs, it's pretty easy to see that once you get over that $1,000 price point, it becomes much more of a better bet that you're going to save money building your own system versus buying a pre-built. And some people don't feel super comfortable building their own PC. Again, it's only a $200 premium to build or to go out and buy a pre-built system. So it's not too much of a trade-off to go out and buy a pre-built. But if you are willing to build your own system and pick out the components, you're definitely going to be able to get a better system with better components, better specs for less money than a comparable pre-built at this point in time. With all the prices coming down on GPUs, it just makes building a PC so much more affordable and kind of makes buying a pre-built a little bit less attractive at this point in time. But what do you guys think? Right now, would you go out and buy a pre-built, or would you rather just go out and spec a system that beats or meets one of those pre-builts and build it yourself? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, get subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.